It seems like, what is your play now? Is it you get in? We all know a little bit about arbitrage. The listeners, I've shared a lot. It's basically when you buy something for a multiple and then you get a lot more for it. So there used to be, the best example I could give of a cool way to think about arbitrage is there's a book called The Clipper Ship Strategy, Clipper Ship. And clipper ships in the 1860s would go from New York all the way to San Francisco. And they did that because of the gold rush. And they'd bring all kinds of supplies, shoes and clothes and food and whatnot. And they could sell it for 5 times more than they paid in New York because it was hard to get supplies there. People had more money because of the gold. And basically, that's what private equity does is you could add companies together. And because it's a lot less risk as the company grows, there's more directors, there's more owners, not owners necessarily, but usually they give about 10% of company shares to the executive level. But can you tell us a little bit about what your play is on this? Because I know a lot of the questions that I've been getting in advance was, what's Bill doing in this space? What's his game? What's his play?
Sure.
What is he looking for?
So arbitrage, there's definitely an opportunity to arbitrage businesses. But I would say, I think where the market is going, and I think where the market is I think, it's kind of like a game. Just doing it with arbitrage is kind of like playing hot potato, I think, a little bit. So I think, for my purposes, yes, are we getting an arbitrage? Sure. But I think that, if we ever do have a market hiccup or something like that, it's going to be the companies that really have real meat to them, really real substance, that are going to get those arbitrages. Now, to your point, the market is so hot right now that people are able to get that. But, I'm hearing some rumblings, at least in the private equity community, it's kind of a small community in terms of, when a deal's out to market, people call around and say, hey, have you heard of this asset? And, people know now that I've focused on this space. And I would say that, not to say that, smaller companies or less developed companies won't be able to command the type of multiples that are out there. But I think that, people are really wanting substance in these companies and making sure that they have, we could go through it, but, making sure that they have real financial statements, not just, hack together financial statements, making sure that there's management depth. So if the owner gets hit by a bus, the management team and the company can keep on going. So I think you're going to probably see, the multiples stay there to do the arbitrage. I just think it's going to come down more and more to a quality asset. I mean, I have a few friends in the private equity community, and, I have a few that I'm particularly close with, and, sometimes they'll call me and say, can you believe that thing traded for that? And I mean, other things, even things that are trading for crazy prices, I understand. But what I'm saying is there may be a shorter runway on some of these lower quality assets that are transacting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. I think what you're talking about, one of the things that we're working on is getting audited by one of the big four. I think that that's important. They put a stamp on there and they make sure that it's legitimate. They go through a deep analysis to make sure your financials are what they say they are.
Correct.
What I found in this industry,
it's expensive though to get an audit. It's expensive, right? I mean, they can range anywhere from 50,000 to 75,000, which again is not a lot, but for some of the companies we're talking about, that's real money, right?
Yeah, I guess most of the companies that I'm looking at, it seems to me, and I hate to say this because I don't want to be condescending to the HVAC industry, but if a lot of these guys, it's not hard to do $20 million. In the 1990s, Frank Blau and a bunch of really smart people, Ron Smith, Ron Smith has been around. He's the godfather for the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Yes. And he's still around. But, to get the 20 million in a market, that's been done now for a long time. And, if you can't afford $50,000 to have books to go to the bank when you need money, I always say, Bill, the best time to get money is when you don't need it.
Correct.
But what is it that you're looking for when you look for a company? Because obviously you don't want to buy the perfect company necessarily, unless you're trying to buy a platform company. And is that what you go after, is platform companies? Or
I do. I try to go after platform companies. You know, one of the guys that I really respect in the industry is Ken Goodrich, and I know Ken. You know, he'll look at, you know, self-admittedly broken businesses and rehab them. Don't get me wrong, whether it's our, you know, legacy family business or other businesses we've been involved with, they've had varying degrees of hurt. Maybe not many of the deals that he's done. They've probably hurt a lot more, and then he's turned them around. But what we try to do is, you know, we say life is tough enough. And so why not buy healthy businesses? So to answer your question, yes, we look for platforms. You know, we look for good, stable operators. One of the things, Tommy, that I've been doing recently, and I just partnered with a gentleman in Arizona who's a terrific guy. He's 39 years old. He was a tank driver in Iraq, and he runs this HVAC company that we bought into, and we've really grown that business tremendously. But, you know, it's not so much that the platform there was nice as much as you had a really good guy there who, you know, combined with our efforts, could really grow the business. And that business is, you know, 2 to 3 times the size of what it was before we got involved. And so, you know, was it a good platform? Sure. But it was more about partnering with the guy who's a good guy and knew that, you know, with a little bit of help here and there, you know, this thing could be tremendously valuable.